All right, everybody, welcome to the next episode of Leap Forward here. We are here today at Miller Farms in Pickett, Wisconsin, and we're going to have a conversation about See Spray spraying technology. With us today is Ryan Miller from Pickett Transport and Miller Farms, and Jackson Remer from Remer Farms. And we thought we'd bring you a little bit different of a format today and kind of do a roundtable question and answer with both of these individuals. Also with us is Nate Soltvedt, who's our application specialist with Remer Schnell. My name is Tim Duel. I am an equipment consultant with Remer Schnell as well. So let's jump into it. So I introduced you guys both. Why don't you give us just a high-level overview of what your farms are like, and for the viewers that don't maybe know you. So Go ahead, Jackson, start us out.
I'll start. My name is Jackson Remer. I farm with my father, Larry, at Remer Farms in Remer, Wisconsin. We're a row crop farm. We grow corn, soybeans, alfalfa, some wheat, some vegetable crops. We sell a lot to some local dairy farms in our area. Do a little custom work, custom spraying, planting and tillage. And we have used See Spray for a couple of years and are looking forward to talking about it today.
Yeah, pretty much same thing here. I'm Ryan from Miller Farms. We run a cash crop grain farm here in Pickett, Wisconsin. Do a lot of corn and beans with the See Spray, but we also grow wheat and vegetables. Also do some custom cropping for some of the dairies nearby and some of the guys around the area here. And yeah, looking forward to talking about the See Spray.
So give a little bit of overview as well. Ryan, their sprayer is a 4044R or 4044, I want to say. Jackson, their sprayer is a 412R sprayer. Both See Spray systems were put on through a precision upgrade kit. So they were originally factory Exact Applies, and we added the See Spray. Both systems were added last year, so 1 year into the format. So very new. Going to learn here together on what we all thought of it. So, all right, let's kick it off. So I guess let's just kind of jump into it. Real casual conversation here. What crops did you guys kind of spray with the See Spray, and kind of what is the chemistry that you used, and how it works? So I guess let's start with you, Ryan. What did you guys do?
We sprayed the corn and beans with See Spray. On the corn, we were spraying Roundup, Diflex, and Class Act on that. So not a really expensive program, but it did work really well. We really didn't see any weeds come through later on, and we were pretty impressed with it. At first, we were pretty skeptical, wondering if we're going to have the weediest fields in the area or something, and it really worked well on the corn. The beans, it worked well also. I think it becomes a little bit of a challenge sometimes with just the dust and the moving of the canopy a little bit, but really it worked well in that also. And we were running with sensitivity all the way up just because it was our first year, a little nervous about it, didn't know how it was going to work, and it really worked well in the beans too. We were using Enlist and Liberty on that with Roundup and some Perpetual also. So we run a pretty expensive program, so we really saw the most savings, I would say, on the soybeans side of it versus the corn program, which was a little bit cheaper. We're hoping this year we can maybe back down on the sensitivity a little bit now that we're a little bit more confident in it, and maybe save some more is what we're hoping.
Do you remember how you kind of got to the highest sensitivity? Like, what set you to be there, aside from making sure you got everything?
Yeah, I think, you came out when we first, got it on, and we kind of just put the boom out over a crop, and we're looking at little weeds and stuff like that. And, we were looking at weeds that were maybe even a leaf, and it would pick it up. And on the highest sensitivity, it would, and maybe like the next step down, it wouldn't always pick up that single leaf. But this is in corn that was going to canopy pretty soon. Mm-hmm. We were a little nervous, so we wanted to make sure we got everything, where I think we probably could have backed down a little bit because that corn was canopied pretty fast afterwards, where I don't know if we really needed to be running it that high,
Yeah, I remember being at both your guys' farm. I think maybe the same day, and it was like 3 inches of rain coming within a few days, and it was like a little point on the timing game of like, do you go now? Do you do it after the rain? We kind of pick that. So It's kind of interesting.
I think that's one thing, going off the sensitivity conversation, that was one thing you go from like a 4 or 5, I think 5's the highest, right?
Yeah.
4, down to like 3. And we just did it in like a part of a field where you were kind of, scouting from a sprayer, 6 feet in the air, and you're at 4, and it was, full broadcast at times, and you could every once in a while see it turning off. But then you would go down to 3, And that seemed to be a pretty big, and it'll go to like 60% spraying. You would notice all the time it was, not as full broadcast as often. And, taking it to fall and just walking across or, doing fall tillage in the field, you couldn't really tell where that 3 to 4 change was. So I don't know if that's something that if John Deere, there's going to be research done on, integrated pest management. They're saying, at times these weeds are going to get canopied out. They're not going to be a viable weed anymore. So that's maybe something that won't be necessary all the time you might see more savings by dropping that sensitivity down, maybe not having as much weed pressure or any in the field still, and capturing more savings on the spraying. But
yeah, especially in the corn, I think once that's canopied, I mean, it's pretty tough for things to compete with the corn. I think I could have backed down probably to that 3 or 4 setting, but my dad was really not for this to start. He was pretty skeptical of it working, and I didn't really want to be the one to say we got weeds out there. Yeah, I mean, it could have been a problem. Yeah. So
you guys had me really nervous. I think the comment you guys had made was that you guys worked a long time and make sure you guys had a clean farm and bringing this technology in. Are you going to go backwards with it? Do you feel like that happened, or do you?
No, not really. It seemed like, my agronomist was a little skeptical even on it. When we started, he's like, well, what should I order for chemicals, this and that? I said, just order what we have been for 100%, and we'll see what we save this year. And even he was here the other day getting chemicals for this year, and he said, I actually was really surprised at how clean the field stayed. We had a few weeds come through in the soybeans, and not many. I think it was like 13 weeds total, and we counted them. But I think it was actually herbicide resistance. It wasn't really the See Spray missing it. So, he was pretty impressed with it. We're going to be running it again for sure. And I guess we'll see if we can back the sensitivity down a little bit.
Do you have like a shoot from the hip number on like what was it that you guys thought, being that we're running high sensitivity, kind of being cautious, what was the savings that you kind of saw percentage wise roughly? I know we could get an op center. I'm sure there's a legit number, but like an arbitrary number. What do you think?
In the soybeans, we were about 70% coverage on that. In the corn, we were 55 to 60, I think we were on that. And that, like I said, that's the highest sensitivity. And I looked at some of the mapping of it or whatever, and sometimes at 12 miles an hour and over, it goes to on no matter what.
Yeah, sure.
And in corners, which we have a lot of around here and stuff, when you're turning, that end of the boom's going over 12 miles an hour, it just turned on. So I think if we back our speed down a little bit in the corners, we'd save a little, and then maybe even out, going down a hill or something, we have some rolling ground around here. I think he just bumped over that 12 once in a while, and that probably kicked it on maybe a little more than it could have been on, But.
Yeah. I think the other thing that maybe affected sensitivity a touch was we were looking at the weeds on a kind of an overcast day.
Yeah, daily we talked. Yeah.
I think a nice sunny day like today is going to change your sensitivity, maybe that continuous check. You don't want to be getting in and out of the cab of that on a day, but maybe once a day when you kick off, pull up, find a little weed, and kind of check it up on.
I think as you get to, learn more about it, you're going to know, like, okay, it's a little bit overcast today. We're probably going to need to bump that sensitivity up, and it's just going to be something that you just know you need to do. And on a sunny day, you're going to be able to maybe back it down a little bit more. I think as you get a couple of years under your belt here, I think we'll learn more about what it's capable of, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jackson, like, would you similar like corn and beans like you sprayed yours with as well? There was nothing
a little different. Our corn program is pretty similar. We start off with a 2-pass system with Duel and Roundup early, and then come back usually with Status Roundup. And Status is a little more pricey product that has our cost quite a bit more, so that's a nice place. We talked about it. I was kind of spitballing with my dad beforehand, but chemical programs, it's kind of one place on your budget that has gotten, hasn't increased a lot, like fertilizer or seed costs or equipment costs. You could say it's almost gotten cheaper, where some of these chemicals are coming off patent and you can spray generics, and it's gotten cheaper. But some of those, higher cost products, it might be more of a savings there, like a Status or something similar to that. And then on our soybean program, we sprayed early, usually with a Roundup. We were using like a Sencor, which is metribuzin, and then a Dual product early, along with Enlist, and then post we were just coming back with Enlist Liberty and usually holding out. Like with the See Spray, it's clearly not spraying, broadcasting the whole field, so we were putting like 2 residual products up front and taking those out on the post application.
Yeah, we found that even a residual, we were putting residual in the post even because it wasn't that expensive. And we're covering 60-70% of the field. Where the weeds are now is probably where the weeds are going to be later. You know,
There's a little bank there, right?
yeah. So we might as well we just put the residual in on the post also. And I mean, for what it cost, we thought it was well worth it too.
Yeah.
Just leave it in.
Both row spacings are 15, right? 15 inch on soybeans,
We grow 30 inch soybeans.
30 inch soybeans,
Yep.
and then
15, yeah.
and then 30 obviously corn. So
Okay.
Yeah, which I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if the 15-inch, maybe it can't quite see as much with the 15, but
It gives you a little bit of a tighter window, you know, because you start to get more occlusion from the crop. And then also occlusion being, you know, like, can the camera see past that plant? And then also when the spray applies or your product applies, is the plant going to deflect that away from your weed as well?
yeah, I thought it may be better in that aspect, and maybe where we don't get canopied as soon it might be worse that way. I don't, you know, but I mean, both of us had pretty good luck with keeping the weeds out, I guess. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you guys kind of explain things that you surprise you with learning from it, right? Is there something that, did the system work the way you expected it, I guess? Coming into the season, what you thought, it's unknown, we didn't know. Did it work? You know, did it meet your expectations that it was like, man, this thing was great? Or, you know, what did you think of it?
Sure. I guess kind of maybe a crutch to it, which maybe we were spoiled with. One thing that we kind of missed when we had See Spray on was that you no longer use your exact apply system. And that might just be credit to how good of a system and kind of how spoiled you get with that. It's not compensating on your turns, and, you know, you're not as much flexibility on your speed. It's more of a kind of the older way of get your tips right and your pressure and your speed, and you kind of got to spray that all day. So that was one thing, and I don't know if there's any plans that they would ever put the exact apply with the See Spray, but that was one of our complaints, maybe, that we were just spoiled by that system, and then you're kind of back to the old idea of spraying. But aside from that, it was really easy to just turn on, and we kind of implicate for us. It was a great resource whenever it was a phone call. And but yeah, that was kind of our biggest surprise. I guess we took for granted how much we liked using exact supply.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Same for you, Ryan? Or
yeah, I would say, the exact apply obviously is so nice, and you don't have to really worry about pressures or anything, and now you're kind of going back and time a little bit there, but we still, I mean, we really didn't have a lot of issue with that. The camera stayed clean, which I was surprised. You know, we were thinking dust on them was going to be a problem, and we didn't. You know, Dad said, I'm going to be cleaning them off every day, and we didn't clean them at all. So
Sure. Yeah.
they really did stay clean the whole time, pretty much, or clean enough that it was never a problem. Yeah, so no, it worked good, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
What do you guys think, like, is the right field to pull into and use See Spray? Is it the field where you can visibly see the weeds from the road? Or is it the field that, you know, it's close to your 30-day whatever interval from pre-emerge, and you're thinking there might be something out there?
I think it's better if you have a clean field to start. I mean, you need to be putting a good residual down up front that's going to keep the weeds out. If you got a field with weeds sticking out all over, you know, you're probably going to be running. It's probably going to be running most of the time, and I don't know if there's going to be.
If you're scouting them for a 60-mile-per-hour at the road, you can see weeds, and those cameras there. We've seen a lot of weeds.
That's probably yeah, and
Yeah.
I think we're both in the
Full broadcast
in the same program where most of our fields stayed fairly clean. I mean, when we go out there and spray that post pass, you're hoping that you're not really seeing much at all. But I mean, some of these fields we were looking at were like, you couldn't see any weeds, and the camera would pick up little weeds. So I was really kind of impressed at how it picked up the weeds and you couldn't even see them. So
Yeah.
that was kind of cool.
I feel like it's kind of a mind shift. I come from somewhat of a custom application background. I mean, you get a call when guys see weeds, you got to, right? Now it's you got to just thinking ahead of them because they're probably there or not as visible from the road, but you start picking around, they're there.
And the timing's so critical, right? If you see the weeds and now they're this tall, it's too late, right? That's where it's being so much more
and
critical in
becoming
today's world.
with resistance and chemicals. It's becoming, you want to be getting them when they're, everyone talks pop can, or,
Absolutely. Yep.
and if you get, hot days of the spring, those are going from, minch weed to pop can weed, and you're almost better to be on the early
Yeah,
side.
they go to a water bottle, and the next day, I mean, you really have to be on them,
Yeah.
less than pop can now if it's warm out.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Which is the crucial part of, that's the most important machine typically on a farm is the planter, followed, if not more, partly by the sprayer, right? So the sprayers become a really crucial tool to any size farm.
Did you guys see, I guess, like, sticking on kind of like the resistance weeds idea? Did you see anyone like upping rates maybe to like, upper end of the label as opposed to, maybe cutting the label down because of resistancy. You could spray 5-6 ounces of status and whatnot, or a higher rate of, Liberty sort of thing. Did you see anybody doing that?
Yeah, I think guys aren't as afraid to use full rate. Yeah, because they know that they're going to compensate in another part of the field where they're not fully using it.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, I think cost doesn't become such a factor when you're using this a little bit. You can afford to spray.
That's correct.
Full rate.
Full rate at 60% is a lot better than a half rate at 100, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah,
and with the same dollar per acre, you're getting a better result.
Yeah, if you kill what's there versus maybe it, then he was, breaking through that and still growing through it,
Adding more resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. Speaking of that, did you again, new and early, and we're in just as the season's kind of wrapped up here and we're starting into the next season, but did you do anything kind of play around in Op Center with overlaying maps of spray versus yield to see, any advantage or disadvantage of what you did, or not quite yet?
Want me to go?
Yeah, you can go.
We had one, I guess, we chop a lot of corn and sometimes it's hard to get yield maps out of a custom harvester, and nothing against them because they're going across a lot of acres and they're chopping a lot of choppers. But we have a field that's been, for all the years we've been doing field work on it, it's kind of one where it's a larger field and half of it's pretty good. It kind of has some nice lay to it, and poor drainage on kind of like, it's a 90-acre field and maybe 40 acres of the bottom of it have always just been, probably a weed bank and poor drainage and poor yield for years. And we were surprised when we pulled a map up on John Deere operations that pretty much you were making your passes and it would be, probably 50% or less on like the better end of the field, and you'd get down to the low spot where drains has been an issue. And the weed bank in that area must be just incredible because going full broadcast and, in one pass of a field, a 90-acre field, you could go from, See and Spray really, showing how it's working well to just turning on full broadcast because they're luckily not much of a weed bank in that area, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, I would say I probably agreed about the same scenario. You can see where the weeds, we have patches around the outside and the low spots where your drainage is bad. I mean, it definitely shows that that's where the weed pressure is coming from most of the time.
Yeah.
Did you feel like the machine adapted fast enough when you go from 4 nozzles on to a full boom? Like, do you feel like that pump was able to pick up the RTM and everything it needed to make rate and continue spraying at the proper rates, speeds, all that?
Yeah, I guess I don't think we ever noticed any issues from it.
No, I didn't see any difference in anything on that of pressure drops or anything like that. I mean, we didn't really notice that at all.
Mm-hmm.
No, it really kept up good.
Did you guys, like during the season, other than communicating between the two of you, right? But did you talk to any other customers that you knew that had it, or anybody out of state, or did you ever connect with anybody in See and Spray, or really just kind of local here?
We have one mutual friend that farms near Palmyra, Wisconsin, and I connected with him a few times, I guess. He had been using it. He had it last year, same thing, a pup kit. So this was his second season with it. I think he was one of the first ones to have it. So he kind of had the knowledge and had some pointers just from having used it a year. And he's kind of a resource for me if I.
Yeah, I called him too before I even, before we went forward with this. And I said, have you had good luck? Are you going to be able to keep the weeds out with it? And he said he had good luck with it and he was going to keep using it. So I said, well, we'll give it a try, I guess, and see how it goes. Yeah. He said he was really happy with it. I mean,
yeah.
And he does a little bit. I mean, he does quite a bit of strip till or no till or
no till. Yeah. Yeah. One point, and I was actually talking to him this one point he made is that, I kind of thought was interesting just talking to him that John Deere's put this product out and you almost have to, his point was, you have to adapt it to your farm to make it maybe work financially or however you want to utilize it. But like, it seems that the system works and it's probably going to improve, the release is there and now it's kind of, it's in your hands to almost make it. Every farm is going to be a little different. You keep doing different tillage. We have manure. Like there's a lot of different factors that come into every operation, obviously, that there's different ways to make it work, I guess, if you want to use it.
Yeah, like on our ground that we do minimal till or no till on, it seems like that's where the largest savings were. If you were out in the spring doing a burn down and you went in later on, I mean, that stuff was, I'd say 10 to 15% less spray coverage on that than the stuff that we do tillage on, which I thought was pretty crazy to see that number difference, So there was some more savings on that, I thought, even.
Sure.
So I think he, him down there doing a lot of no-till, he really saw the benefit of it right away,
I think that's a very good point you brought up, because we struggle with that as a equipment consultant, sales. We all have, most of us have a good agronomic background.
Right.
So we understand what the system is doing, but it's really hard for us to go to you guys or a customer and say,
This is what you have to do.
you need to adapt your farm to use this piece of equipment. Yeah, that is a tough thing to do. And, you know, we've learned pairing up with you, learning from you, working with your agronomist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a super powerful tool. And then your acquaintance down south probably learned too, like
Yeah.
using the system. And maybe this was like from as applied maps coverage, or like the as applied area actually was changing the different tillage types.
Sure.
You know, so that's cool if you can bring that back to your agronomist and say, hey, look at this. This is what's kind of happening in our field. We can identify this through the software and make decisions from it. So it really turns into a full cyclical communication between equipment consultant, customer, and agronomist, really.
So
What do you guys think? Like, is it early in the planning phase for 2026, right? But is there anything you guys are already saying we're going to change how we did things last year for next year, knowing what you know now with the system? Like, are you changing your chemical plan? Are you changing your, like, to turning the accuracy down maybe? Like, just, is there any kind of big change that you're thinking of to try?
yeah, I think we're going to try to bump that sensitivity down some, especially on sunny days like we talked about earlier, where, maybe the cameras are picking things up even better. Try to back it down and see if we can save some more and just bump the speed back. Make sure we're not bumping against that 12-mile-an-hour mark, which isn't a big deal. I didn't feel like, that was a
Spraying or anything.
yeah.
That is, update for 2026. They are going to 15 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be a nice thing for you guys to get. Because if that sweet spot is 11.7 miles an hour for the nozzles, like, you know how easy it is to go past that 12 real easily.
Yeah. Well, that'd be really nice if they do that, because, just like I said, sometimes I think you're bumping against that if you get a big, smoother field, which I don't have a lot of around here, but once in a while we do get into that. Would be nice.
Yeah, no, I don't know if there's anything specific. Yeah, we're still probably doing a little chemical planning and for 26, but maybe be more comfortable with the sensitivity to say, hey, we could feel comfortable being at 3 as opposed to 4, or maybe
Trying to stretch the chemical.
Yeah, maybe being okay with using like a status, a more expensive program, or maybe being able to bump that rate up a little bit if, fighting resistance weeds. But one thing we did at the end of the year this year that we were kind of surprised on how well it worked. You have your typical kind of dandelion soybean fields that you combine on, and man, this is a little more green than we'd like to see it. And we did some fall burn downs with just, 2,4-D in the fall, just trying to clean up some dandelions. Dad and me went out and sprayed with a full tank of fall burn down. He ended up spraying a whole bunch more acres. You kind of, we'll catch this field too. You're going by, I was spraying at like 40%, but I mean, it was just working fabulous. We were just on fairground or fallow or whatever that setting is, and it was just knocking out dandelions, which was pretty cool. So, opportunity to start cleaner next year, for that field.
And just stretching that one tank full.
Right, a lot part of the line.
Yeah, and that brings up a really good point. I thought that was maybe one of the biggest things about the See Spray was going less fill-ups in between. If you spray even 70%, it's almost like you got a 1,600-gallon tank then, for the ball. So we have a lot of fields here. We have smaller fields that are scattered out, and it's like before you almost had to tender someone if you only could do, 75, 80 acres, and now all of a sudden he's going out, he's spraying 110 with that same tank. It's like, all right, I'm going to make it back now. I don't have to have anyone come here. That was a big savings, especially in the spring when you're, summer, whatever, you're side dressing maybe when you're doing some of this stuff, and it's like, Dad could kind of just manage it himself almost. He didn't need as much tendering, I thought, which was really, I thought, a big deal.
Yeah.
It saves a lot of time when you're...
I think that was always the scariest part, like in the selling process of it and the communication is how do I mix, right? I got 80 acres. I got to mix for that 80 acres. Well, do I mix for 80? Do I mix for 60? Do I, I don't want all this extra chemical, where I think now learning what you learn, you kind of understand how to mix a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? Where you don't have this extra chemical laying in your tank that...
And otherwise, you kind of just plan for the last field, if you need to.
Finish it out and finish it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it shows your gallon's still empty, or your acre's still empty on the scan, so you pretty much just go to full freaking, it's so easy with the John Deere to just switch to broadcast and just broadcast the last 15 acres out, 20 acres out, whatever you have left if you need to, but once you get used to it, you can kind of plan on, after your first couple hundred acres, I would say you kind of know what your percentage is going to be ballpark. So we kind of knew anyways, like, all right, load for 70% of this acres left or whatever. And we came out pretty close, actually, it seemed like. So
That's good.
Question for you guys. We're talking a lot about See and Spray on your machine. Obviously, did pre-emerge without See and Spray. How tough is it to switch from See and Spray to just on a broadcast application and using it what the sprayer was initially built for?
Sure. We actually kind of set it up. I don't know how a lot of people set theirs up, but we have our See and Spray nozzle out the back of our Exact Apply, and then would that be the A or B port?
B port.
And then we have just our A. We have a nozzle that we can use if we just want to just go back to using Exact Applying kind of broadcast. So we change nozzles fairly often, so we weren't too concerned about it. But like if that was somewhere where we want to just go back to Exactify without having to go out and change the nozzles, we were just able to switch from A to B with turned off the See and Spray pointed back nozzle and just went to using Exact Apply in the front. But we didn't really seem to have. We're kind of used to. We have to get out and turn and spraying different gallons for cord trees and posts and everything. So we didn't seem to have much issues switching back and forth with it. So
yeah, I would say we did the same thing. We had the nozzle on the front that we just switched to just A and ran that for the Exact Apply, and we were real happy with that. We do like 3 or 4 small guys that neighbor us for custom work, and we didn't know, well, this See and Spray was going to work. We didn't really want to be testing on someone else's stuff this year. So we just, with Dad would be like, all right, I want to switch to that. I just switched to the A nozzle, and away you went. I mean, that was very simple. Yeah, it worked really well.
As a sprayer operator, you don't want to be out changing tips all the time.
Yeah, no. But in turning them, it takes time. So I guess that's what's really nice about having the Exact Apply with the A and B is
the older guys in our operations would do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Complicate switching.
My dad is big on keeping it simple, so that was something that, once I showed him how to do it one time to switch to this, he's like, all right, that's simple enough, otherwise he was not going to be too happy if he had to turn every one of them.
Yeah, or if you had to go in the display and change 10 things, like...
It wasn't for remote display access. That actually is... How many times did that? Oh, yeah, I do, well, you're out doing something else, and, well, look at my phone plate. That's been that is a lot. That's a great time for you.
Yeah, especially with this, where we were learning it, we really didn't know what we were going to have to expect on this deal, and, he was out there, is this working right? Should I adjust anything? And I could just log in wherever I was and look, and it really made it I got confidence that this is working well,
Mm-hmm. So last year when we were out talking about See and Spray, you guys were hesitant, right? So we had to use this Miller Farm whiskey here that is, location grown in Pickett, Wisconsin.
Holy cow.
Pickett, Miller Farms, corn, put in this whiskey. Everybody was hesitant, so we, got about half of that bottled on before we got the purchase order signed, right? So now knowing what you know, would you do it again? Now that you have it, would you do it again? Was my first question.
Use it again or purchase it again?
Would you purchase it again knowing what you know?
I guess I don't find any reason that we wouldn't have. One nice thing about it is I don't think it's, if you're going to resale the equipment, it's nothing that's going to increase value to resale. I don't know by a ton, but it's going to be there. And we seem to have pretty good luck. We were able to change a few things, and I don't see any reason that we wouldn't have done it again or purchased it again.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the biggest thing when we purchased it was we're not really going to be out that much, and we can always just switch it off. That was the big thing. It wasn't like some big complicated deal where once you put this on, you can't just go back to doing what you were doing before.
Yeah.
And it's clean on the sprayer. You didn't have any problems with brackets or,
No, it's
crazy harnessing everywhere.
right. Yeah, you really don't notice it on there. I mean,
that was one thing I was like, does this go with atrocity, hanging all over the sprayer and a million cameras, but it's a pretty clean system that we didn't have, we weren't busting off cameras or anything or taking
it was
holding or
pretty simple, and it worked. I mean, like I said, it worked, and I told Dad it because he was pretty, against it. Like, is this going to work? We've been keeping our fields clean. Like we talked about earlier, we don't want to go backwards. And I said, well, if we put it on and we don't like it, we'll just switch it off. It's not really, I don't think it's going to lose any value on the sprayer, and so I would definitely do it again. I mean, we plan on using it this year, so that kind of tells you where we're at with it, that we're trusted enough that we're going to do it again.
absolutely.
So is there any changing things for 2026 that you guys can cue us in on, or nothing that needs to be out?
We have to spill the beans on the 15 miles per hour thing. So
They're working on a thing for above canopy height.
Is that sure?
So right now we're 20 inches above ground or 50 some inches above that. You can be within that range. Now they're going to be doing an above canopy option. So maybe if you're doing a clethodim and like volunteer corn cleanup,
Sure.
that'd be an option. You can run that and do some cool features like that or whatever. So
And I think a big thing going back to the cost we talked about, John Deere does it per acre, but the upfront cost is pretty reasonable. It's not like some of these other aftermarket ones that are $100,000 to put on. I mean, there's some pretty crazy numbers out there to put on some of the competitors, where Deere is pretty reasonable up front to do. So
yeah,
that's where we thought we're not out a lot. Let's put it on. If we don't use it, we're not going to get charged anything
right
to use it.
yeah.
I think the chemicals are going to probably become, maybe more spraying or maybe more in the chemical, you're doing more mixes, I guess, and maybe more expensive. So the seed and spray hopefully is going to save us more as we go forward. I know you talked about earlier the chemicals got cheaper, but seems like now we're, like where we're doing Liberty and Enlist, it's like, well, now we're getting to be a pretty expensive package,
Sure. Yeah. Individually they're cheap, but combined now they're
Combined, you start doing both.
Yeah.
And it turns into a $40 pass. If you're spraying 30% less of that, that adds up in a hurry.
Yep.
How do you guys, I know it's a hot topic on See and Spray. What is your take on the subscription? The $5 per acre where you drive through a field and maybe it doesn't apply. Technology says there's not a weed there. Do you think that's good compared to like a herbicide cost in that acre? What's your take on that?
I guess the one thing, I don't know, 5 seems a little high yet, but I don't think the one nice thing about knowing like the subscription as opposed to like the large upfront cost is that John Deere is hopefully going to be trying to improve this product. It's going to keep getting better. The algorithms that go into it are going to, I'm hoping that the more it's used and maybe the more they get out, they're going to be able to just keep improving it. So I guess you have to look at what they're got stuck in, developing this technology and being able to implement it, that they're going to say, hey, we're going to keep trying to do this better, but we're going to get a little bit of, but yeah, I guess you can't expect it to be sold for a reasonable price and then, be able to use it for free, I guess. So,
I guess it depends on where you're spraying. If you're doing a burn down with this 2,4-D, well, then all of a sudden the $5 an acre doesn't quite look as good. But where you're out doing a $45 an acre pass, then it makes up for it there. I think there's give and take with it. I think, like you said, John Deere is going to keep hopefully updating the system with you paying the subscription. They're going to keep everything up to date and make it better as it goes, hopefully.
Yeah. And the cool thing that burn down is $1 an acre.
Yeah.
So we're,
Yeah.
you go really just spraying anything green in there. So
sure.
Yeah.
a little bit easier for the software to determine. And I think that's been the big message is that you may pay $1 or $5 an acre in areas, but if your chemical bill is $15 plus, you're netting $10 they didn't before. So
Yeah. As long as you keep the weeds out, I mean, I think it's definitely well worth the $5 as long as it doesn't miss anything, which we really didn't see that it did.
Yeah.
So outside of improved software, a little bit better speed, which will help, is there anything you guys hope that it, is there something that you kind of thought, man, I wish this would have been nice, as a thing that's coming down the future, maybe? Something that would change on the machine that would be better for See and Spray?
I don't know how realistic it is, and you guys grow some too, but yeah, there's like, there'll never be like a veggie, like a pea or, different options for in crop. Peas you can't spray a whole lot in crop, but like we talked about wheat. You spray wheat early in the year and it's all green, and usually there's not too many weeds, but if there's like a wheat option, I don't know if there's any more crops that they would ever implement, but I know it's probably hard depending on the amount of acres you go across. But that was one thing that interested us, I guess, if there'd ever be any other crop options. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I told Nate this earlier. I would like a drop down, like actual on the main screen where it showed your percentage you're covering right now or not covering. Either way, because like if we go to, Dad might get in the sprayer and go somewhere, 5-6 miles away, whatever. And it's like, are you going to have enough out there? And he's like, I don't know what I'm spraying yet. It's like, if it showed it instantly, like, oh, I'm covering 60%, I'm going to have enough in this tank to do this field for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
You can go do whatever you want to do, or like, hey, do I need to hang around and bring the semi over and fill you up? that would be a nice option. I know you can do it now with work totals, but it'd be nice just to have it on the main screen that you're watching. Like, okay,
It's small square.
yeah, like instant.
Yeah.
It's very small
Pressure, percentage.
Yeah,
right?
that would be a really nice feature to know if like I can just get out of here and do my own thing and he'll make it back or whatnot that way. But that's a pretty simple thing.
I can go home and start drinking whiskey.
Exactly right. Yeah. Could start on the bottle a little sooner versus having that tender truck.
That could be an option.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good feedback. And if you guys ever have more too, like, we'd definitely like to hear that because we want to help make the product better as well.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
What's the story on this?
Yeah.
All decal to the thing where if you grew enough corn, I guess they sent all your corn and made 10 bottles of whiskey for you. I'm with your foreign name on it, so it's something kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was break in case of emergency, in case See Spray doesn't work.
Yeah. That's Dad had to drink a whole bottle of that in order to talk him into the sea and so
Yeah.
it was 10, now there's 9,
Yeah.
Now, hopefully after this, I can sell things sober.
That'll be better, yeah.
Hold that fire.
Yeah, I don't need to get a ride home. I can just drive home. That'd be great.
What's the analysis on that? Can somebody read that for us?
40% alpha, all right, yeah. Like, so, yeah. 40%, yeah.
Yeah, 40%. Well, that's good stuff. Get that up later.
Cool.
All right.
Any other things that we didn't touch on that you guys want to share that feel like helped your operation?
Yeah, I guess 2 other quick points I'll make before we wrap up. One, a pipe dream that kind of just came to me as you were asking that is, you have these cameras. I know they made cameras that detect, color of crop. We wide drop with our 412 on 120-foot booms with easy drops. If that camera could, and nitrogen's such a tricky product, if you could be wide dropping a field and it could be seeing, hey, this crop looks great. It'll lower or change, the amount of nitrogen you're applying, or if you get to a spot that we got some nitrogen deficiency here, maybe that's just a pipe dream, but.
So with the way the combine is now with the predicted yield, it's looking at the mass of the crop. So, I mean, that seems like something that could be maybe a crossover eventually of that. It'd be the same technology pretty much.
Yeah, because there's a satellite, like prior satellite maps paired with See Spray imagery. You can maybe do a variable rate wide drop application is what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So that'd be really neat.
Well, no, that's a great idea. Just like with the technology too, it's as it gets harder to spray, everyone, runs into it. I think drift is, nobody wants to talk about it, but everyone has issues. You get the wind in the wrong direction or wrong type of volatilization, but you're just putting less product out there. So there's going to be, a less risk for that sort of thing. So that could be another benefit, a side benefit, I guess.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, anytime you're spraying less, I guess, is better.
Right. There's like, spraying it's not easy anymore. So I think you can give yourself a better picture to, neighbors and other people is a good thing.
Yeah. And putting less chemical. I know we didn't overlay the maps too much, but you were looking into it. I mean, some of that stuff you said was, 2 bushel better maybe where we didn't spray. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be neat because if you almost want to do like a split field because it's a 2 bushel better because it didn't spray because there's no wheat. Was there a weed dragon yield or was the herbicide dragon yield?
Yeah.
More testing on that I think would be neat to really understand that better.
See, I think, we looked at the maps and there was like a 2 bushel difference on some of that stuff that was See sprayed, versus the non-naturally applied. And I wonder if that was, wheat pressure there in those fields that maybe the drainage wasn't as good, or maybe, this year we could put a side by side and see, if that's actually the difference is the See spray or the broadcast. So I think that's something we'll try to do this year on a flat, even field if we can find such a thing around here.
Well, 2 bushels surpasses your $5 subscription.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
So
depending on what the markets do.
Today's corn. Today's corn is awesome. Yeah, it's good stuff.
We have to drink some more whiskey to keep going.
Yeah.
More money in whiskey than
Yeah.
stored in the bin, Mick.
Probably, yes.
All right, perfect. Well, I really appreciate this. Thank you guys for your insight and honesty and what you thought of the product. And thanks for being here, Nate, and jumping in. I thought this was kind of a unique thing that we do for podcasts here. We haven't really done one this style too often. So hopefully the viewers like it. Hopefully you guys like it. Again, thank you for watching Leap Forward podcast from Research Now. Have a great week.
We're your John Deere dealer coming through for you. Reisterer and Schnell.